All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Check out Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. And this video is brought to you by our brand new sponsor, Mancini's Sleep World. They're a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. They offer a 120-night guarantee with a range of brands and price points. I'm loving my Mancini's bed with Mancini's. You get free next day delivery. All you got to do is click the link below or go to sleepworld.com and find a bed that works for you. Whether shopping online or visiting in store, use the code KRUG10, get 10% off. That's KRUEG 10 and get 10% off in store or online at sleepworld.com. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Niners and the Bears and some conclusions after watching the All-22 and looking at this game. One, the Niners dominated this game in a very profound way. I mean, 49ers were plus 290 in total yards. It was 319 yards to minus 4 yards, I believe, in the first half alone. It was a dramatic beatdown of the Chicago Bears. And I went and watched the All-22, and here are just some of the conclusions that I came to. Number one, George Kittle has to be used more than he's used. George Kittle said after the Buffalo loss that he was open and he just didn't get the ball. The Niners need to feature George Kittle more. Now, against Chicago, they did. He caught 6 balls. He was targeted 6 times. He caught 151 yards of receiving yards that day. He's caught 84% of his targets on the year. Kittle's been targeted 67 times. He's caught 56 of those balls, 8 touchdowns. Okay. When I think of George Kittle, I think of Travis Kelce. When I think of Travis Kelce, I think of George Kittle. I think they're the best 2 tight ends in football. Travis Kelce only has 2 touchdowns compared to 8 for Kittle. But Travis Kelce has 80 receptions compared to 56 for Kittle. And what really is outrageous is Travis Kelce has 107 targets to 67 for Kittle. Travis Kelce has 40 more targets than George Kittle. That's way, way, way too many targets or not enough targets, I should say, for Kittle. He should be closer to Kelce's 107. Instead, he's at 67. It would be one thing if everybody was healthy, but CMC's missed the whole year. Ayuk has been gone for weeks. Deebo is a shadow of what he used to be. Ricky Pearsall, your first-round draft choice wide receiver, hasn't done anything. This is set up for George to have a huge productive year, and they're just not going to him. So conclusion number one, start using George Kittle a whole lot more than they have in the passing game. It's criminal that he has got 40 less targets than Travis Kelce. All right, conclusion number two is Deebo Samuel is losing his mind. He had 5 targets against Buffalo, 3 against Chicago. He only caught 2 balls for 22 yards. He's not anything close to what he used to be. And then on Monday, Deebo tweeted, not struggling at all, just not getting the ball. Well, Deebo, you're averaging 2.5 yards per carry on running plays for the season. So that sounds like a struggle to me. I think he's lost a step. Now, to me, he looks really good when he's got the build-up speed, ability to use that as a kick returner, punt returner, where he can benefit from the build-up speed. But he's lost a lot of his quickness, his agility. I'd like to see the Niners use Deebo less from scrimmage and more on special teams and start using Jacob Cowing the opposite, less as a punt returner and more as a from scrimmage down the field receiver. Why? Because Cowing can really run. Cowing can separate. Cowing can make plays down the field. Deebo doesn't separate. Deebo has lost a step. I don't think they should bring him back in 2025. And if they do, they got to bring him back at a dramatically reduced cost. He's lost a step or two. He hasn't been able to run for 3 yards a carry all year. They're really surprising nobody by using him as a running back. And, he says he's not struggling at all, but Deebo doesn't get open against man coverage. The Bears play a ton of zone, and he did very little in this game. So if you don't do anything against the Bears, who played a ton of zone, and you can't free yourself up against man coverage, and you really are running for about 2.5 yards per carry, then yeah, you are struggling. Whether you want to admit you're struggling is another thing. But he is struggling. So that's conclusion number 2. Conclusion number 3 is that Ricky Pearsall, what's going on? I mean, I don't even know what to say about this. This is a first-round draft choice. He has 2 targets and 1 reception for 5 yards this weekend. In the last month, he's been targeted 5 times. He's run probably over 100 routes. He has 1 reception. These are statistical aberrations. This is almost like a statistical impossibility. It's almost impossible to run 100 routes in the NFL and get 1 reception. 1. As in 1. That's unbelievable. So Ricky Pearsall, I hate to sit there and say Ricky Pearsall's a bust. He's been through a ton. He's been shot. He's a good kid. He works hard. John Lynch has vowed that he's a very good football player. You're not a very good football player if you don't produce, okay? You're only a very good football player if you do produce. 5 targets and 1 reception in 1 month of football is embarrassing for anybody, let alone the first-round pick. So conclusion number 3 is that Ricky Pearsall is a bust until proven otherwise. You know, I have an opinion that evolves. So when he's good, I'll say he's good. And when he's a bust, which is right now, I'll say he's a bust. And until he proves that he's not a bust, he's a bust. And right now he's a bust. Okay, that's conclusion number 3. Conclusion number 4, the Niners need to feature Isaac Guerendo more. Isaac Guerendo is got the speed that Deebo Samuel wishes he had. He averaged 5.2 yards per carry over the weekend against the Bears, 15 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. He caught 2 footballs, 2 passes, and he took them for 50 yards. The guy had 128 yards and 2 touchdowns on 17 touches. Get this guy the ball. He demonstrated this weekend he can really catch the ball, and that's not a surprise because he was a high school wide receiver. He's got the speed to get to the edge. Deebo does not. He's got the speed to take it to the house on almost any touch that he has. And as long as he doesn't fumble, he seems to be an improving runner who seems to be getting smarter and more instinctive with every carry. So he seems to be a smart player. He's big, strong, fast. He catches the ball naturally like a wide receiver. This guy needs to play a lot more than he's playing right now. That's for sure. So that's takeaway number 4. Guerendo needs to play more, much more. Takeaway number 5, or conclusion number 5, is that, man, Dom Puni's good. He had the number 1 PFF grade of any 49er in this game against Chicago. And when you watch the film, you can see why. Very athletic, climbing to the second level, not just tape blocking his man, but blocking, guys on either side of him. I mean, Dominic Puni's really, really special. What a third-round pick that was. And also, takeaway number 6, or conclusion number 6, is that Jalen Graham was heard from. He was the 5th highest graded 49er on either side of the football this week. He made a tackle for a loss. He made a couple tackles. Jalen Graham was a very good linebacker at Purdue. He played kind of a hybrid star position, part safety, part linebacker. I've had numerous people tell me he can't play. He can play, all right? And when he gets out on the field, he's going to show it. So conclusion number 6 is that Jalen Graham has surfaced, and I think he can play, and look for him to do a whole lot more. Conclusion number 7. Man, the 49ers had a lot of explosives in this game, and they kept the Bears to almost virtually none. The 49ers found explosives in the air, on the ground, and their defense totally took away all of the Bears' explosives. The Bears had hardly any explosive runs from Caleb. They had no explosive runs from DeAndre Swift. They got a bevy of weapons. None of those guys really got loose. They did nothing. The Niners won the day as far as total explosives. So conclusion number 8 is that the Niners far more explosive football team. Conclusion number 9, Brock Purdy was excellent. He really was. 20 of 25, that's 80%. 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, only took the 1 sack, 145.4 rating. He ran 5 times for 11 yards. Brock Purdy is really played well in this game. I thought his touch on some of the red zone passes that he had, the one to JJ was a thing of beauty. Just absolutely put it right in the bucket. You had a defender, you had the sideline, you had about 4 or 5 yards of space, and Brock lofted it right over the defender, right into the hands of Jennings in the softest way, and Jennings got 2 feet in. Brock Purdy makes that play, which many quarterbacks can't make. He makes that play routine, and he makes it look easy. So conclusion number 9, I guess, is that Brock Purdy was really, really good in this game. Conclusion number 10 is that Jennings needs a new nickname. 3rd and Juwan ain't going to cut it. How about Big Money Jennings? When there's money on the table, that guy shows up. He's playing a lot more split end. He's playing a lot more X without Ayuk. He had 7 catches for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. This guy, if you target him 8 times, he's going to catch 7 or 8 balls. I mean, he's one of the most efficient players there is, and he is a big money player. So conclusion 10, JJ's a big money player. Call him big money. Conclusion 11 is Mooney Ward is finally making his way back. He's been through hell, the death of his infant. He's looking like himself now. I thought he was great in this game. Chicago had 94 passing yards. Mooney was outstanding. He played excellent coverage. Him and Renardo Green look really good. If there's one thing to feel kind of borderline cocky about with the 49ers, it's that with Mooney and Lenore and Renardo, they can lock you up on the corner. They've got some really, really good young corners there. And all 3 of them are playing at a very, very high level. So that's takeaway number 11 or conclusion number 11. Conclusion number 12 is the Niners totally took away the Bears' run game. Chicago averaged 1.8 yards per carry in the first half. They gang tackled Swift. They held him to 2.7 a carry. Hufanga was excellent in the box. He had 5 tackles. And the 49ers showed up. Now, this Bears team ran for 5 yards a carry against Green Bay, and the Niners shut them down. So conclusion number 11, right there. Niners run D absolutely controlled the day. Conclusion number 12 is that D Winters looks fantastic. He dropped a pick 6, but he made 3 tackles. I haven't seen him fly around like that. He was absolutely outstanding. That's takeaway number 11. D Winters showed up. Takeaway number 12, the Niner D-line showed up huge. Yatir Gross-Matos had 3 sacks. He's never had a year where he's had more than 4.5 in a season, and he had 3 against the Bears. Greatest day of his career. 4 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 TFLs. Leonard Floyd had two sacks. He's got 5.5 sacks in his last 4 games. Evan Anderson had a fumble recovery and 3 tackles. Sam Aquinu with 3 tackles, batted down a pass. Malik Collins had 2 hits on the quarterback, really looked good. The Niners had 7 sacks and 7 hits on the QB. So the Niner D-line, takeaway number 12, they really balled out. Takeaway number 13 is that the pecking order at safety goes Hufanga, Mustafa, and Brown in that order. The Niners wanted to get Hufanga back out there. We weren't really sure who was going to come off. Was it going to be the rookie Mustafa, or was it going to be the second-year safety Brown? And it was Mustafa who stayed on and Brown who came off. So there's your pecking order right there. Hufanga and Mustafa are your starters. Brown is your backup. That's takeaway number 12. Takeaway number 13, it was a clean game on special teams. Brian Schneider, the coordinator who's under fire, this game, he could sleep all right. I mean, Moody made his field goal. There were no major turnovers, no monster returns, no massive penalties. Relative clean game for the Niners special teams, and Schneider, I'm sure, is feeling good. That's takeaway 13. Takeaway 14 is the Niners were awesome in the red zone. 5 of 6 trips to the red zone, 5 scores or 5 touchdowns. Kyle, I thought the play design was fantastic. A lot of east-west motion. The Niners were first in the red zone last year. They're 27th this year. The play calling, I don't think, has been great, but I love the east-west motion and movement. I mean, they had all the action moving to the right. They brought JJ across the formation to the left, and he was wide freaking open, and Brock put it right on him. So The play calling in the red zone, especially, I thought was outstanding. That's takeaway 14. And takeaway 15, the 15th and final conclusion from this game is that the 49er offensive line really played a great game, and they did it without Trent Williams. They did it without Aaron Banks, and they largely did it without Ben Barch, who went out early in the first quarter with a high ankle sprain. So with Spencer Burford at left guard, Jalen Moore at left tackle, Dom Puni, as I told you already, had the highest grade of anybody on the team at right guard. Brendel was graded out very highly as well. They did a job here. And Montez Sweat and Darrell Taylor can rush the passer. They pitched a shutout against Sweat and Taylor. No sacks, no quarterback hits. Purdy was only sacked one time on the day and was only hit 3 times on the entire afternoon. And their their starting defensive ends did nothing. Mix in the fact that Guerendo went for 5-2 a carry. So they ran the ball effectively. They kept bodies off of Brock. They kept Sweat and Taylor from, getting in the stat sheet at all. And Burford stepped in at left guard, and where he hasn't played in maybe ever, because he was a right tackle at University of Texas at San Antonio and then played right guard with the Niners. He just stepped in at left guard and was good. Jalen Moore's played really good at left tackle. So the 49er offensive line, now call it luck, call it whatever you want. They played a great game. And they did it without Trent, without Banks, and without Barch. So way to go, Niners offensive line. So there you go. 15 conclusions from the Niners-Bears game. Niners get the Rams on Thursday night. They need a lot more good things to happen for them if they're going to the playoffs. But there you go. There are your conclusions, your top 15 conclusions. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Mancini's for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.